welcome to Christian Answers. My name is Pastor Jeff Short, and today I'm going to do an analysis video of the March for Life 2020 that I attended last week. I was there when President Trump was the first president of the United States to address the March for Life. After 47 years, it finally happened, and I wanted to take the time to go through an analysis video of the president's speech and make some comments on it. And hopefully this will be helpful. I'll show some other little clips later on different programs, but today I want to just go through the speech and see what he says. So we'll be talking about it, commentating about it, and hopefully this will be helpful to you. So let's jump into the speech and get going and see what the president has to say.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you, Jeanne. It is my profound honor to be the first president in history to attend the March for Life.
Yes, that is true. And it's amazing that there haven't been any other presidents to do this. It's amazing that Donald Trump, who actually started out in his adulthood for abortion and was for abortion up until maybe 10 years ago, and now he is pro-life, and he's the most pro-life president that we've had in a long time or ever, and he's the first president to address the March for Life, which is amazing. It's truly amazing. It's really surprising that a secular businessman would be the one who would be the first president to address the March for Life, when we've had the likes of Ronald Reagan, who was pro-life. We've had the likes of George H.W. Bush, who was pro-life. And we've had the likes of George W. Bush, who is pro-life. But not one of those presidents has ever spoken at a March for Life rally, which raises a question, why not? And it must have been their political calculation that it wouldn't have been good for their election or re-election. It wouldn't have been good politics to do so. Well, Mr. Trump doesn't care. And that's what I think a lot of people like about him, is that he doesn't care. And so he just does what he feels he wants to do. And a lot of times it may not be the most politically correct thing to do, but he does it anyway. So he's there speaking for the unborn at the March for Life. Fantastic, symbolic victory for the pro-life movement. Let's move on here.
We're here for a very simple reason: to defend the right of every child, born and unborn, to fulfill their God-given potential.
That's a great summary. And I don't know who wrote his speech. I don't know how much input he had on it, but whoever wrote it, he delivered it. And he said it very simply, very succinctly. We are here to march for the right of an unborn child to exist. And so you can't get any clearer than that.
For 47 years, Americans of all backgrounds have traveled from across the country to stand for life. And today, as President of the United States, I am truly proud to stand with you.
And that means a lot to the people that have been out there. I've been to one other March for Life, so this is my second March for Life. And I have to say that every little bit of encouragement that the marchers get goes a long way, because you have to imagine this demonstration here in Washington occurs every January. It's the coldest, one of the coldest, if not the coldest month out of the year. And so sometimes you have years where it is a snow blizzard. Sometimes it's near 0 degrees outside. Sometimes it's raining. Sometimes the wind is howling. It is very difficult. And these marchers have been out there for 47 years, continuously, every single year since the infamous Roe v. Wade abortion decision. So to have the President of the United States encourage them to keep on and Not only that, we'll hear about this into the speech. Not only is he out there encouraging them to do something, he's actually taking steps to do something to end abortion. So this is truly a historic moment. It was very encouraging. And by the grace of God, this might be something that finally does away with that infamous Roe v. Wade decision that legalized abortion in the United States.
I want to welcome tens of thousands. This is a tremendous turnout. Tens of thousands of high school and college students who took long bus rides to be here in our nation's capital.
Well, he's actually understating the crowd size because he's saying tens of thousands of people are here. It's actually hundreds of thousands of people were there. I've seen crowds of hundreds of thousands in Washington. This one perhaps was at least 500,000 and somewhere probably between 500,000 and a million. So it's very difficult. The park police no longer give estimates. But I do know that he actually, and this is a rare occasion for him, it's actually an understatement. He's not overstating. He's understating. Tens of thousands is incorrect. It's hundreds of thousands of people there on the mall, there, ready to march for life, and are listening to him. So he's selling himself a little bit short here, but his information, he was given this information from someone, but that's okay. It's not about the numbers. It's not about the head count. It's about the stand that's being taken by Americans to say no more abortion, no more Roe v. Wade.
And to make you feel even better, there are tens of thousands of people outside that we passed on the way in. If anybody would like to give up their spot, we could work that out.
I didn't see any
We have a
volunteers for that.
tremendous group of people outside. Thousands and thousands wanted to get in. This is some great success. Young people are the heart of the March for Life. And it's your generation that is making America the pro-family, pro-life nation. The life movement is led by strong women, amazing faith leaders, and brave students who carry on the legacy of pioneers before us who fought to raise the conscience of our nation and uphold the rights of our citizens. You embrace mothers with care and compassion. You are powered by prayer and motivated by pure, unselfish love. You're grateful, and we are so grateful. These are incredible people to be joined by Secretary Alex Azar and Kellyanne Conway. Thank you.
Now, some of the things he said there, he said those rather fast, and I am playing his speech at 1.25 speed, so he's talking here in the video clip a little bit faster than he was there live, but it's only a little bit, 1.25 more. He mentioned about the unselfish love marching here. Now, this is one of the things about the March for Life every year that is different from, say, other marches on Washington, like, for example, the Women's March on Washington 2016, or the Women's March that just occurred before, which drew hardly anybody. They are marching for self-centered reasons. They are marching so that their rights and their lives and them, and it's about me, 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 me. That's a very selfish motivation. Now, you can say, well, it's for a good cause, and that's debatable, but it is not debatable. The marches that often occur in Washington are self-interest marches. But these marches, when it comes to the March for Life every year, these are not self-centered marches. These are centered on the child in the womb. Our lives, our families, the ones that are already living, these will go on. We have life. We already have life. And it would be very easy for people, even the March for Lifers, to just say, well, thank God I'm alive, and that's what counts. But when we go to Washington to march for the March for Life in January, that date surrounding the Roe v. Wade decision, We are marching for the unborn. We're marching for protection for the unborn. And he is right, exactly. A very selfless act of love to try to win the rights of these small, premature babies who cannot march for themselves, who cannot speak up for themselves. So we have to speak up for them. He also mentioned the fact that this is largely led by women. Now, that's a very, very significant factor, because the March for Life, if you look on the stage here and you look at the primary organizer and president of the March for Life is a woman, and most of the women on the stage, it is a woman-driven movement. And most of the power and motivation and impetus for this movement comes from the women themselves. So that is a very, very important point, and President Trump made note of it.
And thanks also to Senators Mike Lee and James Lankford, who are here.
Pro-life senators.
And Representatives Steve Scalise.
Another very, very pro-life
Chris Smith.
Politician.
Ralph Abraham. Warren Davidson. Bob Latta. John Joyce. Lloyd Smucker. Brian Fitzpatrick. And Brad Winstrup. Thank you all. And I have to say, and I look at it, I see it exactly. We have many, many more politicians in the audience, but if you don't mind, I won't introduce them all. All of us here today understand an eternal truth. Every child is a precious and sacred gift from God.
Now, that's a very great statement. Every child is a precious and sacred gift from God. That is a message that the pro-life movement is sending to the secular world today, because the secular world does not believe that every life is precious and is a gift from God. They don't believe that life is a gift from God. And we're seeing more and more of that atheism, whether it's theoretical atheism, practical atheism, or what have you. We're seeing a lot of casual, sloppy philosophy being done by politicians and leaders in the community, basically eliminating all of the connection between precious human life and God, and just seeing it as biological life that we can decide what to do with if we want. And so this is a powerful statement. And here it's coming from the President of the United States.
Together, we must protect, cherish, and defend the dignity and the sanctity of every human life. When we see the image of a baby in the womb, we glimpse the majesty of God's creation.
Again, he's talking about God-given rights, and he's talking about the image of God in each and every child, whether in the womb or outside of the womb. This is stuff that needs to be said in Washington, because there are a lot of people in Washington that don't believe this. And that's what's destroying our nation right now. We have lost the ability to think in terms of priorities. And President Trump, this businessman, this secular man, lo and behold, he's standing up for life. He's standing up for truth. He's doing more than any of the other presidents have done to try to call attention to the fact that we need to stop killing babies in the womb. And the reason at the heart of that argument is that they are made in the image of God. They are of infinite worth. They are creatures of God, created by God, and that they deserve the full rights as everyone else. And President Donald Trump is making that argument here. Is very profound, and hopefully people will listen to him. Hopefully this will be something that will make an influence in Washington.
When we hold a newborn in our arms, we know the endless love that each child brings to a family. When we watch a child grow, we see the splendor that radiates from each human soul. One life changes the world. From my family, and I can tell you I send love, and I send great, great love. And from the first day in office, I've taken a historic action to support America's families and to protect the unborn.
Okay, now he's going to go into the list of things that he has done, which is very significant. It does sound strange coming from the person who did the deeds to actually brag about this, but in a world where the media will never tell you these things, in a world where the news reporters will never report on what he's doing to help the pro-life cause, he needs to actually say it himself. So it does sound a little strange, sounds a little braggadocious, but I'm glad that he listed these out, and we need to not forget that he has done more, practically speaking, than any president has in the history of this country as far as trying to protect the life of the unborn.
During my first week in office, I reinstated and expanded the Mexico City policy, and we issued a landmark pro-life rule to govern the use of Title X taxpayer funding.
So he is mentioning the fact that he has stopped the foreign aid to countries that anything connected with abortion. So none of the money that the U.S. gives to any of these countries can be used on abortion, which is very significant because the Obama administration, of course, had no such prohibition. In fact, they encouraged abortion whenever they could. So he stopped that foreign aid for abortions, and also he defunded Planned Parenthood as far as the Title X budget is concerned, which saved millions and millions of dollars from going to an abortion industry company. He did not defund Planned Parenthood from the budget, and they still get $500 million every year, even though there was a Republican-controlled House and Congress for the first 2 years, and there was a Republican in the White House. He was not successful in working with Congress to defund Planned Parenthood. So that's one of the agenda items left undone. But we'll hear him say that he defunded Planned Parenthood. That's the Title X amount that he defunded, not the entire budget that the U.S. gives to Planned Parenthood.
I notified Congress that I would veto any legislation that weakens pro-life policies or that encourages the destruction of human life.
Again, he gives that threat of a veto, but he did not veto the budget that included $500 million to Planned Parenthood. So that is one of the things that we want to see him do, is to actually make a stand and say, we will not have a budget that includes one dime of blood money to Planned Parenthood.
At the United Nations, I made clear that global bureaucrats have no business attacking the sovereignty of nations that protect innocent life. Unborn children have never had a stronger defender in the White House.
Yes, and what he's talking about there with the United Nations is he made it clear in a speech to the United Nations that the United Nations should not be putting pressure on countries to do abortions for whatever reasons, for population reasons, for economic reasons, whatever it is. The United Nations, as far as Trump is concerned, should not be in the position of using money or resources to try to manipulate nations, for example, in Africa or in Asia, to encourage them to perform more abortions for population control or whatever. He made it clear to them that they should not encourage abortion in any instance.
And as the Bible tells us, each person is wonderfully made.
It's great to hear the president.
We have taken decisive action to protect the religious liberty. So important, religious liberty has been under attack all over the world, and frankly, very strongly attacked in our nation. You see it better than anyone, but we are stopping it, and we're taking care of doctors, nurses, teachers, and groups like the Little Sisters of the Poor.
And he is opposing mandating religious groups to fund abortions and contraceptions and anything that runs contrary to the religious freedoms of these groups. So, for example, if you have a Protestant college, for example, like Wheaton College, they cannot be forced to pay in their insurance plan for abortions for anyone that's employed at Wheaton College. They cannot be forced to do that against their will. And that's what the Obama administration wanted to do and did do. And President Trump saying, no, I'm going to fight that because we should not be in the business of government enforcing against the religious conscience of believers into doing things that they don't believe in doing. And so the reference to the Little Sisters of the Poor is simply talking about that religious freedom issue.
We are preserving faith-based adoption, and to uphold our founding documents, we have confirmed 187 federal judges.
That's an accomplishment.
Who apply the Constitution as written, including two phenomenal Supreme Court justices, Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh.
We just need to pray that they hold fast to those convictions upon which Trump appointed them, especially not Neil Gorsuch, but Brett Kavanaugh. We have to pray that he's actually pro-life, and that when the time comes, when Roe v. Wade is challenged in the court, that he votes to overthrow it along with the other conservative judges and not compromise and flip-flop and join the liberals. That's what we really need to pray for, because there is some question as to whether Brett Kavanaugh is truly pro-life.
We are protecting pro-life students' right to free speech on college campuses. And if universities want federal taxpayer dollars, then they must uphold your First Amendment right to speak your mind. And if they don't, they pay a very big financial penalty, which they will not be willing to pay. Sadly, the far left is actively working to erase our God-given rights, shut down faith-based charities, ban religious believers from the public square, and silence Americans who believe in the sanctity of life. They are coming after me because I am fighting for you, and we are fighting for those who have no voice, and we will win because we know how to win.
The reference is that they're coming after him, and that's happening right as he spoke, because right up the street in the Capitol is the impeachment trial. And so he's speaking at the pro-life rally in the mall, and up the street, up Constitution Avenue, is the impeachment trial at the Capitol. So he is literally speaking the truth here. They're coming after him. Now, he is telling the crowd, he's saying, they're coming after me because I'm defending the rights that you hold dearly. And in many ways, that's true. That's actually true. And it's unfortunately, the impeachment trials is a political circus. Its sole goal is to drive him out of office for doing stuff exactly like this, speaking at pro-life rallies and undermining the pro-abortion forces. And so he's actually speaking the truth here, even though there is also that political element here.
We all know how to win. We all know how to win. You've been winning for a long time. You've been winning for a long time.
Now that remark is not to be taken literally, because 47 years the march has been held with the goal of doing away with Roe v. Wade and abortion, and we have Roe v. Wade still, and we still have abortion. So we haven't been winning a long time, but in the sense that we've been out there as a witness and we've been out there as a testimony that we will not give up, that's considered winning. And whenever you stand for truth, that's considered winning. So he's right in that sense.
Together we are the voice for the voiceless. When it comes to abortion, Democrats, and you know this, you've seen what's happened, Democrats have embraced the most radical and extreme positions taken and seen in this country.
That's true.
For years and decades. and you could even say for centuries. Nearly
No,
every top Democrat in
centuries,
Congress
but-
now supports taxpayer-funded abortion all the way up until the moment of birth.
Unfortunately, that's true.
Last year, lawmakers in New York cheered with delight upon the passage of legislation that would allow a baby to be ripped from the mother's womb right up until delivery.
That's despicable.
Then we had the case of the Democrat governor in the state of Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Yeah.
And we love the Commonwealth of Virginia, but what is going on in Virginia? What is going on? The governor
Infanticide.
stated that he would execute a baby after birth. You remember that? Senate Democrats even blocked legislation that would give medical care to babies who survive attempted abortions. And that's why I've called on Congress, two of our great senators here, so many of our congressmen here, and called upon them to defend the dignity of life and to pass legislation prohibiting late-term abortion of children who can feel pain in their mother's womb.
Amen.
This year, the March for Life is celebrating the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, which forever enshrined women's rights to vote in the United States and given by the United States Constitution. Such a big event. Today, millions of extraordinary women across America are using the power of their votes to fight for the right and all of their rights as given in the Declaration of Independence. It's the right to life.
Right to life.
To all the women here today, your devotion and your leadership uplifts our entire nation, and we thank you for that. The tens of thousands of Americans gathered today not only stand for life, it's really here that they stand for it so proudly together, and I want to thank everybody for that.
Amen.
You stand for life each and every day. You provide housing, education, jobs, and medical care to the women that you serve. You find loving families for children in need of a forever home. You host baby showers for expecting moms. You just make it your life's mission to help spread God's grace.
God's grace.
And to all of the moms here today, we celebrate you, and we declare that mothers are heroes.
Yes. That's a good message.
Your strength, devotion, and drive is what powers our nation. And because of you, our country has been blessed with amazing souls who have changed the course of human history. We cannot know what our citizens, yet unborn, will achieve, the dreams they will imagine, the masterpieces they will create.
That's right.
The discoveries they will make. But we know this: every life brings love into this world. Every child brings joy to a family. Every person is worth protecting. And above all, we know that every human soul is divine, and every human life, born and unborn, is made in the holy image of Almighty God.
Image of God. That's good theology. Good biblical theology.
Together, we will defend this truth all across our magnificent land. We will set free the dreams of our people. And with determined hope, we look forward to all of the blessings that will come from the beauty, talent, purpose, nobility, and grace of every American child. I want to thank you. This is a very special moment. It's so great to represent you. I love you all. And I say with true passion, thank you, God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you all. Thank you.
Excellent speech. Like I said before, it's a great speech, and on the left here is the organizer of the March for Life, Jeanne Mancini, and you saw all the women on the stage. It truly is a woman-led movement, the March for Life, every year, so that's a blessing to see it coming from women who can speak to other women, specifically the radical feminists, and try to convince them of the sanctity of human life. The speech was great. Still a lot of things left to do, and hopefully we can actually see something positive come about in the next year or two. Hopefully he will get the chance to appoint a couple more judges to the bench, and if that is the case, we will see Roe v. Wade bite the dust and go to the ash can of history. And let's pray that that actually takes place. Well, thank you for listening and watching, and we'll see you back next week on another edition of Christian Answers. God bless.